Okay, I want to be Mamshech Sodim. Mamshech, I want to bless everyone. I want to tell you a Gewalt story. And the special story is, I told it just a few days ago, because when the Bova Rebbe told the story, the great-grandson of that person to whom it happened was sitting next to Bova Rebbe. Okay, you know, Sanz is in Galician, so the Holy Sanzer had Chassidim. So the Holy Sanzer had Chassidim from Galicia, Poland, and also a lot from Hungary. So somewhere, maybe it needs to be, can you tie him down maybe? Yeah? Okay. No, I don't, it doesn't disturb me, I'm just have rachmanus on him, because he's tired. Maybe, I have my coat here, hey. First of all, I want you to know that the Holy Sanzer, do you know that when the Sanzer passed away, the Kaiser of Austria sent a special delegation to his funeral. Never happened before, never after. And they asked the delegation, the Kaiser of Austria is sending a special delegation? What happened? So they said that the Kaiser of Austria knows, you know how many thousands, and at that time the money in Galicia was Kronen, it was part of the Austrian Empire. He says the Kaiser of Austria knows that Rabbi Chaim Sanzer received more money via the mail in Kronen than the salary of the Austrian Kaiser. Can you imagine? He received thousands of Kronen. Millions. And the Kaiser of Austria also knows that he never took one penny for himself. So the Kaiser of Austria wants to honor this person. Think about it. I have to tell you one unbelievable story. Also at the funeral, and if some of you remember the story, at the funeral a general was walking, and obviously a non-Jewish, in those days we didn't have Jewish generals, so a general is walking, and his daughter, obviously a young lady of 22, is also walking, mamish crying behind the coffin. Goes without saying there were thousands of people. So the Chassidim asked this general and the daughter, what brought you to the Holy Sanzer? So they said, we are followers of the Holy Sanzer. So they asked him, how did you become a follower, a Chassid of the Holy Sanzer? So this is an unbelievable story. A Yidele in Vienna, or somewhere, you know, those days, sadly enough, it was still the law that a Jew cannot be a witness. Only Christians can be witnesses. So that means you can pay a shikha, a ganef, a gazan, a retzech, $10, and he bear witness against a Jew. And any decent person who is Jewish cannot be a witness. So you can knock off any Jew in the world. So Nebuch, this Yidel had some business, and the competition, Mamish hired some people to say something about him. And first of all, they ruined his business. He was Mamish left without a penny, And besides that, he was taken to court, and God forbid, could be sentenced for 100 years. And it was all a lie, was Mamish Gefalach. Mamish comes to the Holy Sanzer. And at that point, he's already so poor, he has nothing. And you know, in Sanz, you don't have to say what you want. Because like the Munkacher says, if you don't know before, you don't know after, right? So he comes to the Holy Sanzer, and the Sanzer looks at him and he says to him, when is the next train to Vienna? And let's say it's 11:45. And before he didn't say anything yet. The Sanzer says to him, when is the next train to Vienna? He says, 12:05. The Sanzer says, so what are you standing here like a dope, right? Here's 100 kronen, and jump on the train, go first class. And the Yidel, you know, the Sanzer is so holy, so fire, you don't even know what to think, right? He runs with his last strength, he arrives at the train is just pulling out, he jumps on first class, and you know, by this time he was not rich and he was stuck in dirty. And next to him is mamish very obviously first class. All the outstanding people were sitting there, and he felt so bad, you know. I look so dirty and filthy, and here next to me is this, obviously. And the person next to him also was wondering, what's he doing first class, you know? He doesn't have a penny by the neshama, obviously, to buy a new shirt. Why doesn't, you want to sit next to me, sweetie love? Come on. You want to sit in Charlie's lap? Okay, so this person obviously says to him, you know, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but what brings you to first class? He was so glad that someone talks to him. He says to him, you know, it may sound crazy to you, but I'll tell you my story. I have to be tomorrow in court in Vienna. And there is no way, because all the witnesses I have are Jews, and a Jew cannot be a witness. And he tells them the whole story. And he says, Mamash, I'm so desperate, I don't know what to do. I'm going to this wonder rabbi of Sanz, and he doesn't even, I never told him the story. I walk in and he says to me, when is the next train to Vienna? Here's 100 kron, jump on the train and go first class. He says, it may sound too crazy for you, but this is the story. I have no idea what I'm doing here. That was unbelievable. The next morning he's in court, and who is the judge? The person next to him. Gewalt, should be Gewalt, right? What was the Kaidish Gewalt? Gewalt, right? Awesome. It's not the end of the story. Okay, the judge already knows what's going on there. He questions the witnesses, those two Ganovim, Gazlonim, Goyim, who were paid to say bad things about the Yidden. He mamash questions them, and mamash is boidik, and one is moidik, he got 10 kronen to say bad things, the other one did it for 5. The whole thing is dismissed, and it's a joke. But now, listen, after the whole thing is over, the judge goes to the Yidden, and he says, so far I did you a favor, but now I want you to do me a favor. He says, obviously the rabbi is very holy. I want you to now have one child. All our children should be well. And something happened to her. He says she's 18 years old and she's never paralyzed. And there is no way, no doctor can cure her. Maybe your holy rabbi could cure her. So the most unbelievable thing is, and he says, this time I'll pay you also first class, but I'll pay. So they took, all the 3 people went back to Sanz, and the holy Sanzer, Mamish, blessed her. And the Sanzer told her, please, he says, the truth is you can walk up now and walk, but don't walk until you get back to Vienna. So they carried her out, and then, so this general and his daughter were walking behind the coffin. I tell you a Gewalt story of the Holy Sanzer. The Holy Sanzer, a woman comes to him and she says, Rebbe, I'm selling apples on the marketplace and nobody buys my apples because they say the apples are no good. The Holy Sanzer says, to say such things about your apples. Can you imagine the Holy Sanzer goes with her to the marketplace, and the Holy Sanzer got on a chair, took an apple, and it says, who wants to buy the best apples? Goes without saying, Holy Sanzer, right? And in the meantime, the Holy Sanzer, an apple from the Sanzer, they give 10 rubles for one apple, right? In the meantime, Mamish, the few apples she had, she sold Mamish for a Gewalt Rebach, right? And then the Holy Sanzer got off the chair, and I heard in Boba she sold it, I think, for 2,000 rubles, those 100 apples she had. Because everybody, the people were fighting over the apples. Who doesn't want to have the Schia buying an apple? Imagine if I could buy an apple from the Holy Sanzer, when would you eat it, Mamish? Friday night, turn your kishkes over, right, while you're eating it. So the Sanzer comes down from the chair and he says to the woman, You see, the world just didn't know how good your apples are. I have to tell you one more unbelievable thing. The Holy Sunday is sitting on a train station, and from Sanz to Vienna is a train, and they're waiting for the train, and Hans see them sitting here, and they brought a chair, the Sunday is sitting down, and is telling stories. And suddenly, the Sunday was so in tune with people crying, like you could hear 100 miles away somebody crying. So in the middle, the Chassidim paying attention to his Torah, the Sunday says, to this one particular Chassid, Yankele. He says, Yankele, do me a favor, go to the ticket counter. I hear a little girl crying there. So Yankele goes to the ticket counter, and he comes back to the rabbi. He says, I'll tell you what happened. There's a non-Jewish girl, and she's supposed to go back to Vienna, and someone stole her pocketbook, and she's crying. So the Sunday says, so what are you standing here like an old auction? Buy her a ticket. So he goes back to the little girl and says, my holy Rebbe wants me to buy a ticket for you. And she says, thank you so much. Says, I want you to know that my father is like top man in Vienna by the Kaiser, and I'm from a simple family. I'm a very noble family, and my family will be so thankful to you. Just please give me your address. The Yiddish says to her, believe me, I'm buying you the ticket with all my heart. You don't have to send it back to me. But she says, please, I'll feel so bad. I'll be so glad if I tell my parents that a gentleman bought me the ticket, this is his address. 5 minutes after that, the Yiddish had already forgotten that he bought a ticket for this little girl. The Holy Sanzer passed away, and this is 25 years later. This Yiddish was a very big millionaire, because Sunday had some very rich Chassidim in Budapest and Vienna, and the same thing happened. The Yiddish is mamish, can you imagine if a Jew cannot bear witness, and a Jew never had a chance in court. The Jew is taken to court again, and he has no way of winning the case. And he's so broken, he thinks, maybe I should go to the judge and talk to him straight. Not in court, but in his house. And, he could say no. But anyway, he knocks on the door, the palace, and a very beautiful lady opens the door, and she says, do you know how long I'm looking for your address already? And Mama, she says, I'm so glad finally you came. How did you find me? And he didn't even know what she was talking about. Can you imagine this little girl married the judge? Can you imagine? He says, Yankele, you buy the ticket. You know what kind of eyes? It's awesome, right? Mama, she gives you the shivers. You remember the story when people were hit with that stick the last time? Remember the story? It's unbelievable, Chelad. It's mamish awesome. Mamish awesome. I mean, who would dare take the Sunday stick and hit somebody? I mean, you got to be a big Rebbe to do that. So the story is that the Bova Rebbe, the last Bova Rebbe, inherited that stick from the Holy Sanzer, but he never did anything with it. And obviously never he saw what's coming. A few months before, now maybe a year and a half, before the 6 million, was the wedding of his youngest daughter. It was mamish the last big Hasidic wedding in Poland. And, it was unbelievable. The Bava Rebbe mamish had 500 Chassidim on horses, mamish with a special uniform, and they were riding on horses before the carriage of the chosin, and it was unbelievable. And there was a whole army walking before the carriage of the Kala. And do you know the Bava Rebbe? The old Bava Rebbe was mamish unbelievable in electricity. He knew mamish. Bava Rebbe said he knew mamish soidis gewalt. He had mamish psychedelic lights at the wedding. Amish blinking. And you have to realize this was maybe 1937, 38. Who knew about psychedelic lights in those days? And Mamish, he had also, Mamish, the whole thing, the whole area where the wedding was wired. And, let's say the chosin is coming 2 miles away, someone would press a button, and the psychedelic light would go already on in the wedding hall. Oh, when the color would come, it would go green, chosin red, I don't know what. But it was unbelievable. At the end of the wedding, at the Muslim, gotta go? Okay, Yossi Mamish, thank you so much. Good one. See you. Hey, brother, Mamish, thank you. Let's concentrate, it's getting late. Where were we? So Mamish, at the end of the wedding, there were approximately 5,000-6,000 Chassidim there. Bob Rebbe Mamish was like, geholfen, Mamish, Truma Mutter Nefesh. So he said to someone, bring me the stick of the Holy Sanzer. And he says, Mamish, I want to hit you. And Mamish, 5,000 Chassidim were dancing, slow, and he was standing on the table, and each time person passed by, Mamish hit him on the hand. Wow. I want you to know something. The Bob Rebbe said that he was Mamish guarding that stick with his life. And one time he was sitting on a train, and he had the stick of the Holy Sanzer. And I know Yankel likes the story, or some of you remember the story about he signed God yeah, you have to tell the story in a minute. So he had this envelope of Eliyahu Novi, and one more thing, 3 things he had with him. And suddenly he was sitting in the wagon, and he thought it's safe. Suddenly the wagon, the whole train was stopped by the Germans, and he knew when they find him, they shoot him on the spot. He opened the window and he jumped out, and he forgot the Sanzer stick. Yeah, it was from heaven. But he says, Mamish, I know that Sanzer stick is guarded somewhere in heaven. Sheikhs come back. I want to tell you an unbelievable story about this stick. I began telling it before. So in Hungary, in the little Städtele, there was a Jew, a farmer, and Mamish, he lived far away from... What happened? He is so cute, Motzele. I want you to know from all the people, his wife, and the doctor made her crazy that when she give birth to the baby, it will be very, very dangerous. Sometimes doctors have this specialty in making their women crazy. And even if it is hard, why do they have to make them crazy? But they do. Mamish, this doctor made her so crazy that she didn't know what to do with herself. He says to her husband, please go to the Tsanzer, asking for a blessing, but please come back because I'm all alone here. Okay, it so happened that he went there and he was late. He could not leave anymore before Shabbos. So he thought, I'll tell the Holy Sanzer 1 minute after Shabbos. Friday night, in the middle of the night, the Sanzer's tish, about 1 o'clock, suddenly the Holy Sanzer calls this Hidele. And he says, that's the Moishele, come here. And he comes. The Holy Sanzer now takes a stick and Mamish gives him a sense, Mamish, Doesn't say anything. Okay. He didn't say, listen, don't worry. Sanzer fixed everything. The Yidele comes back. There's an awesome story. And I want you to know, when the Baba Rebbe told the story, the great-grandson of that person was sitting next to him. He comes back, and his wife has a little baby in her arms. And she says, he won't believe what happened. I want you to know, about 12 o'clock Friday night, suddenly labor pain began. And I'm all alone. I didn't know what to do anymore. She says, I don't know, but I swear to you, you'll think I'm crazy. Exactly 1 o'clock, the Holy Sanzer walked in. Gewalt. And he says to me, I know you won't feel comfortable, but just close your eyes. I want you to know the Holy Sanzer delivered my baby. Wow. Awesome. So the Rebbe said that this baby who the Sanzer delivered, I mean, it's unbelievable, you know, it's not to be masik, you know, it's awesome. I mean, it's so awesome, there's no words, right? About. I want you to know a Sanzer story. I heard this from the Galicia. The Heilige Galicia told his son, and I heard it from his son. He said like this: the Holy Sanzer, when a girl was 12, or on the Bar Mitzvah, a boy was 13, the Holy Sanzer would call in his children, and he says, until this minute, I was mamish your father, and you had to listen to me. I want you to know, from today on, mamish, I trust your judgment. From today on, whatever you do, he says, I trust that you learned enough in those 12 years or 13 years. Teach the mamish know what to do. So he says, you don't have to ask me. And if you want to ask me as a friend. Oh, it's awesome. This is mamish awesome. Couldn't believe when I heard it, you know. And the Holy Sanzer was a Rebbe who was giving advice to the whole world. He should tell his children, listen, I'm your father, I'm a Rebbe, you can always ask me till you're 2,000 years old.